Chris, it's the morning after the night before. I suppose you've made your announcement yesterday about leaving the club. You must have been bowled over by the reaction from supporters.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. Even myself and my wife barely spoke to each other yesterday when we got the kids to bed, just checking our phones because it's non-stop, it really has, and overwhelmed, and you know, it hit me harder than maybe I thought, seeing the nice words come in. Even my friends from back home have been reading through loads of saying it's absolutely mental, the reaction. I know it's been very good, although it's probably not news a lot of people would like to hear, but a lot of people are very understanding why I'm doing it, and I have been bowled over by the kindness of people online.
Yeah, we obviously had a plan for a couple of days, but were you nervous knowing that it was going to go out yesterday at 4 p.m?
Yeah, I thought I'd be alright, because obviously I spoke to yourself and Jim about when it went out, and I thought it would just be fine, and then 4 o'clock came and it actually just took off like wildfire. I couldn't believe how quick people were to respond, and the reactions just seemed to fly through Twitter. And my missus even sent me a thing saying it was #2 trending in Ireland. It's just funny, like, so it just shows the attention it brought up, and people from here afar have been getting in touch with me saying, you know, thanks for what you've done at your time at Dundalk and how well you've played and stuff, and so that's been a nice reflection of how I've played here.
Were you busy at 4, or did you
actually
leave the phone away for a while, or were you?
My son Dara was due a feed at 4, so I was half trying to hold the bottle in his mouth with my chin while scrolling through the phone. Had to get him up, burp him, and then back on the phone just to see it. My phone was pinging all night. I had to put it on silent. They had to stare at me really going to bed, because it would have been lighting up the room for the rest of the night. It's still going this morning, so it's mental.
Yeah. You released 2 statements. I was joking with you last night. You give me the glib, bland statement, and then you put out your own. But I think in the one you put out in particular, I think it shows you how much this town has sort of grown on you over the last 10 years.
Yeah, whatever. What I said in both statements is true. You know, my own was a bit of crack, but all seriousness as well, the standards of takeaway in this town is phenomenal. And now, when I go back to Mars, it's not as good. Where I live, it's not as good. It's the standards. It's through the roof. Honest to God, it's what kept me here for so long, probably.
Yeah, the line that stood out for me was Crime Time Charlie's. Only people from
Dundalk know that. I got a few Dundalk heads actually say that was brilliant, but you know, we all have them dark times where we end up in there at, say, 12:30, 1:30 at night.
yeah, long memories is right. Obviously, 10 years. 2012. We're not going to go through every season in depth, because it could be a Netflix series in itself, but it's maybe an idea for the future, Chris.
The Last Dance.
Yeah, The Last Dance. Exactly. But 2012, obviously a difficult year, but as you said in your statement, you were made club captain. You probably weren't aware of the size of the club when you came. I'm sure it was a huge learning curve that season.
Massive. Like, it was, people forget I was only 21. You know, I don't think we really took that into account, or even what I'd done at a young age. You see 21 to 24-year-olds in this league that are highly protected nowadays, whereas I was thrown in probably at the deep end. Like you said, I wasn't really aware. I was kind of, you're in a shelter in Bray, you know, although it's a great club, there's not that much pressure for you to do too much. And then coming to Dundalk, I probably just took the same attitude as I was at Bray, and swiftly learned that it's not how it goes around here.
Yeah, it's amazing to think what way this story would have gone if we didn't come through that playoff against Waterford.
Exactly. Who knows where my career would have tailed off to, but definitely wouldn't be here. Like, having won what I've won, I probably would have tailed off a completely different end, maybe bounced around 1 or 2 First Division teams back at Bray and packed it in. You just never know. They always say football game of fine margins, and that was the finest margin to me, was signing back here in 2013.
Tell us about that, because I think it's public. You're one of Stephen's last signings. I think Stephen was a bit unsure about whether to keep you. But can you remember the discussions with him around that thing?
Yeah, I think I was the last member as well, because I came halfway through pre-season. I'd never done trials as a kid, and so I threw my hand at a few lower league clubs in England, and it looked like I was going to sign for Carlisle, but it fell through thankfully in the last hour, which I was actually quite pleased, because it just didn't feel right, and I wanted to come home. So Stephen had been on to me all throughout the kind of off-season saying, oh look, we might bring you in and that, and I had a phone call or 2 from Derry, which I was surprised at. And all that, at the end of the day, I ended up sticking with Stephen and coming in halfway through the pre-season. There was a gel team. I knew 1 or 2, but I didn't know too many. And then I got injured early days, 2013. Wasn't really in the front fold of the midfield, and eventually had to wait me turn to get a game, and that was after the break, and just kind of took off from there in the role I ended up playing for years to come.
I think you played a couple of your first games as centre half from.
Exactly, that's why we're number 5. He signed me as a centre half, and myself and Andy Boyle were going to be the first choice centre half. But then how I played the centre half ended that quick enough.
It's incredible when you look back. It's been told over and over again about that team, sort of, I wouldn't say outcasts, but to mould players who are, you think of Stephen O'Donnell, Richie Tell coming back, to mould them into what was probably, you know, one of the best Dundalk teams ever. It's an incredible story, no matter how many times it's been told.
Exactly, it's almost like Moneyball stuff,
Yeah.
but it was basically a team of misfits that nobody probably wanted. Yeah, people know O'Donnell's story. He was offered here on Maryview on diesel vouchers. Myself and Dame Massey were coming back from Bray, hadn't really done too much. Richie Tell was a free agent, and then all of a sudden we're hitting the ground and the mine running. We were sprinting as a team, and we were really taking off, and sure, the rest is history and how well we done together.
Yeah. So close in 2013, second in the league, when you consider that was the first year that team was put together. But in 2014, we won the League Cup here, and then that night here against Cork, where we clinched the title. You were like most of us. You had to watch. You had to watch most because you went off injured earlier on. What was your memories of that, having to watch it from the dugout or from the stand?
Awful. There was, cause you're so excited. That week was so exciting for everyone. Like, especially I lived in a house with like players that were at the forefront of everything we'd done in the league. It was myself, John, Stevie, Rory Higgins, and Darrell Horgan, and we'd all played a huge part that year. So the excitement around the house that week was massive. So to build it up, and then I came off in the 9th minute, I think it was. You know, I think I came off in tears because it's like, I can't do that now. But then, like, people have seen in games later on, the FAI Cup final and the game against the Europa League last year, I'm not a great spectator. So like that night, I was like moving around, itching, and I'm very nervous watching, like everyone else was, until we got that second goal. I was, you know, very nervous throughout the evening. Yeah,
it's probably the one night at Oriel, when you think of the European games and cup finals, they've all been away from here, but that night at Oriel, it was, I remember even coming up, and Ann Street was cordoned off, you couldn't get past it. It was 5,500, 6,000 people in here. It was a night we'll all remember.
Oh, it was brilliant. It was, everyone's family was here. We had an extra stand up behind the goal. And the noise when Stevie scored, and then the noise when Gareth scored, it was absolutely, it still gives me goosebumps to this day. And the final whistle going, and pandemonium ensued, you know. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. That team obviously went on win the double the following year, 2015. I think a lot of supporters would look back on that season and think that was one of the club's finest. It was a special team.
Yeah, a powerful team. Every week you expected to win. I think we only lost one game in the league that year. We were a real force to go through a league campaign, and we probably won the league at a canter in the end. I think we won it by 11 points. We won it in September. Clinching it in Tala was a brilliant night. It was a moment, you know, that you never think you'd have. You're waiting on a final whistle elsewhere, so everyone's on their phones checking, standing around, and then that one person gets a text saying it's over in Drogheda, and then it was party time in Tala, and that went on till maybe the Monday. Then back in, but then we knew we still had business to do in the cup, and everyone remembers winning that in extra time, and it was the first of 6, well, first of 5, unfortunately, obviously last year no one, but first of 5 cup finals for everyone to come down to Lansdowne Road.
What was the Viva like as a player? Obviously last year was unique in that there was nobody there. 2019 unfortunately was suspended, but what was it like playing, especially in 2015 and 2018 when we won the double up there?
Brilliant. Just it's something you don't forget, because you try and put out your head. Having played a lot of big games in 2016, it kind of settled me into bigger games that I had later in my career. Never really got nervous, but then you always find yourself when the anthem's going, and we're all looking into the stand where our families is, and it kind of chokes you up a bit. Then you have to forget about it and try and play a game of ball. And we've always had good crowds for the final, because it's always been ourselves and our main challengers in the final. Ourselves and Cork, it's always been 25 to 30, and then the unfortunate year I missed was I think it was bigger again. It was over 30,000. So we've always had amazing atmospheres there as well, and we've always travelled well from here.
Yeah, 2016 again. It could be a whole documentary in itself. But just a couple of games in particular. You mentioned Alkmaar in your statement. That was an incredible. When that ball went in Kieran Clough's header, it was an incredible moment for everybody. I think it was you who won the free kick in the.
I was, yeah. It was funny because obviously I didn't start the game. I would have been disappointed, but understood what was happening. And then when Stevie got sent off, I was lucky enough. It was my chance to come on. But having been 1-0 down against the distinguished European side, 10 men, I don't think many people would have given us a chance to do that. And maybe Stephen didn't fancy us doing that, and we were brought in 9 behind the ball, and Gary, and then luckily enough it broke somehow, and I ended up on the left wing, and Johansson's brought me down, and we were happy to take the free and get people in the box. And you seen Kieran Kilduff shaking off Weghorst, who's playing for the Dutch team in this year's Euros. He already scored, and like you said, because it was shooting into the away end, the camera angle's perfect to rewatch it over and over. You just see everyone erupt. Like, I'm sure, like, if you ask any Dundalk fan that was there, that is probably their highlight as well. Yeah. Especially because my wife was there. She was there with Andy Boyle's girlfriend and Gareth's wife, and then my 2 friends from Clondalkin were there as well. It's excellent when there's people there from home. I
think you're right in saying a lot of fans remember Alkmaar. My favourite memory, I think, with Dundalk was Warsaw, because the performance we put in that night against a team like that, and that stadium and that atmosphere. What was that like? Because I even remember the warm up when they pulled out the banner behind the goals. It was scary. It was spine-tingling stuff. But what was it like getting the pitch that night?
Oh, it was. We didn't expect it, because in their eyes, we expected us to see us as minnows, and they should brush us aside. But their main end was packed before the time we came out for the warm up, and that's where we warmed up in front. And all of a sudden, these cherry pickers start going up, and there's 2 boys with drums facing into the crowd. They're not watching the match. They're making severe noise, and Warsaw aren't even out for the warm up. So that was the story for the rest of the game. You know, between the smoke, the flares, and the noise, you couldn't hear each other on the pitch, so it was hard. But I think we silenced them when we went 1-0 up, and we gave them a right out scare until the very last minute where we had to go for it, and that's their story. They got back in the Champions League after a long time from a breakaway goal. But it was a proud moment for everyone in the squad to show that we were up to the European pedigree at the time. Like I said, it was special again because my mother was in the crowd that night as well.
The year after, I think we all look back, Rosenborg was probably one that got away in 2017.
For me, it's the game in my career that got away. Between that and Rapid Vienna last year, but Rosenborg more so sticks out in the mind because we were so good here that we should have went away with a win at least, and then to go 1-0 up over there, and maybe their bit of experience maybe kicked in an extra time just to lose like that was heartbreaking. We always think of Kieran Kilduff's chance, what could have been, but it always is the game that got away from me.
Yeah, it was a difficult season, 2017. Cork, they threw down the gauntlet, in fairness, won the double, but the way we come back in 2018, Stephen Kenny's proved to be his last season, that was another incredible year. Yeah,
it was a brilliant Cork team that 2017, and we still think we were the better side in the final, but we didn't win it, and that's the matter of fact. So we had a big thing to step up the next year, and 2018 it was probably our best side since the side of 16. It was everything we done seemed to, like, the fluidity in the team was brilliant, players stepping up to the plate, and we were very, very dominant, although we ran close enough to the league, and obviously down in Turner's had a special moment as well. It's probably one of my most favourable seasons as well.
Yeah, popped up with a rare winning goal that night.
I know, the knee slide was even better when I buckled myself into the crowd. That lived long in the memory as well, because not only it was a 1-0 win down there, but it was a very, very comfortable, and it kind of set the marker for the cup final as well that year.
Yeah, what was that like? Fats obviously, when he scored that header again, that moment when the ball hit the net, just incredible. That's
another, like the 2014 final whistle here. It's when you see who it's been crossed to, you're like, oh, this could go anywhere. But so when you see it hit the back of the net and you just see everyone erupt because it's a bit later in the game, it was magic, and then we seen the game out professionally, and it was brilliant. Just to complete 2 doubles in this short, and that was 2 doubles in 3 years. That's not really been done in this league for a long time.
Doubles, treble, so close in 19. Like you look back on Rosenborg, what's the cup final in 2019 must really hurt you that you missed out that day.
Yeah, it did hurt, and I suppose only my family seen the true side of me then. It really rattled me for the rest of the year. It was hard to get going for it, and even to be there, but it wasn't. I didn't really want to be there, but obviously you be there for the team. Still stood up on my own for the game because again I'm not a great spectator, so I was in and out of the bar mainly. My dad would come out to me and I'd watch on the telly, and then I'd try and occupy myself, and it was a very tough one to take, but I suppose it really did make me determined for what we did last year. It was probably a little bit extra special for myself to kind of rectify something that was taken out of my own hands in 2019. It's incredible
to think how close that team, and Vinny in his first season, so close to winning an unprecedented clean sweep, 5 trophies. It would have been, even saying that.
It doesn't get spoke about enough, really. I don't really understand it, because where we were in the league, people said it was over after April. We were 13 points behind, and we won the league by 15 points. And I just don't understand how that doesn't go down as one of the great teams in League of Ireland. Not many teams have done that, and how we done a 30 game unbeaten streak in domestic competition in league just showed the pure hunger within this team, because people always loved when we were doing poorly at the start of that year. Vinny might have been a bit under pressure, and then all of a sudden we're on this run where we're unstoppable. And then to go two kicks of a ball away from a perfection of a season without myself and Fats in the team that day, it really is kind of unprecedented.
Yeah. How difficult was last year, Chris? Obviously COVID had a massive say in it, but how difficult was it? We think back to last summer, Harry Taff, who was a major influence on you at your time, in your time at Dundalk and in the club, coming back to that sort of backdrop, and then obviously Vinny Peart departed. There was a lot of noise at the club. How difficult was that?
You've listed off a mountain of upheaval there for a well settled club. You know, obviously when COVID hit, we were only 4 games in and a good position to contest the league. But what happened when we came back, you couldn't have predicted. Obviously Harry's loss was monumental. Like, I don't think people understand how well thought of he was around here. You know, you still miss him to this day. I was happy I've had a conversation with Shane yesterday over text and all, and reminiscing. He was just a giant of a personality around here, and he was a good friend to most players. Had in every other job he done around here: bodyguard, security, groundsman, a bit of everything, jack of all trades, and probably a master of all of them as well. But then you had the upheaval of Vinny. He was here 8 years. He had almost had the perfect season the year before. And maybe there was too many demands put on him to go and do well in Europe, which was, I think people kind of underestimated how tough a draw we got with Celje. They were a very, very good team. Some players in the Slovenian national team, and we were unlucky. And then obviously things weren't going right domestically, and that was it. I suppose that's football. And Vinny's got a second chance, like all of us in 2013. Vinny's got a second chance now, and I think he's going to come in and steady the ship. And it's just about building from here.
Even with that in the backdrop, from a football point of view, the club still wins the FAI Cup, Europa League group stages. You captained Dundalk at places like the Emirates. We were all there. It was a very surreal atmosphere, and I think that's a regret that we'll all have, was that there was nobody in the grounds to witness those occasions.
Exactly. It was for once in our time, it was a brilliant draw travelling wise. Some fantastic cities. Going to the Emirates, the away end would have been packed out from the mind Dundalk fans. You would have got a lot of Irish football fans going over, and it would have been brilliant. Everyone's family would have made the trip. So to go to the Emirates, a hollow Emirates, it's a big stadium. Still, you have the pleasure of playing there, but it's one you miss your family and your friends being there. And you have you had a fantastic trip. We were only talking about the other day. You know, I know it was hard, lost every game, but everyone loved the trips. It was so well organised. It was brilliant cities, place you'll hardly. I doubt I'll be back to Molde again, but you would love to go there again. It's a fantastic city, and the likes of Vienna as well. It was fantastic to see the likes of these grounds and these cities, and all for free.
Yeah.
Then to win the cup as well. For the first time ever, we weren't favourites going into a cup final, and that maybe suited us. Given what went on last year, and it was kind of the art of the old dogs kind of turned up that day. Like Brian, myself, Davy Mack, of course, a hat-trick in the cup final. It was like the lads who knew how to win turned up at the right time, and it was one of the proudest moments of my career, was lifting the FA Cup, having what went on 12 months previous. Yeah,
you've name-checked some of the players you've played. I'm not going to ask you who's the best one that you've played in your time, because there's been so many, but some of those you say: Davy Mack, Brian Gartland, Stephen O'Donnell, Richie Towell, Darrell Horgan. The list goes on.
I'll say it. Horgan is probably the best.
Yeah.
So there was a time in 2016 when we were out on our feet, and the game plan was get the ball to Horgs. And more often than not, he'd turn up with something. I think we still see the Horgs that was here when he plays for Ireland. I think he's one of the most exciting players when he plays for Ireland. Just seems to turn it on for Stephen. But like you said, I played with some greats. Stevie O'Donnell, a fantastic captain, fantastic person. It's great to see him doing well with Pats. Davy Mack, Pat, Fats, Mickey. Andy and Garth were so formidable for years at the back together. But I probably, funnily enough, I probably learned the most off the opposing manager here on Friday. I learned a lot of my game off Rory, living with him, because he came to a time where it was quite difficult. We were living together, but I was a young 22-year-old, kind of keeping him out of the team in 2014. But I'd always look how he conducted himself around the place when he played games. Watch Vinny and Stephen were always at me to look at his movement away from the ball, and you know, that always kind of stuck with me and resonated with me that to watch Rory when he was here.
A couple of them, Rory and Stephen O'Donnell, have gone on to be managers. You've played under some incredible managers as well. Stephen, obviously, the Republic of Ireland manager now. Is it something you'd think you'd throw your hat at down the line?
Yeah, I'm going to start my badges this year. You know, I'm 30 now, so I think now is the kind of start of matured as a player and a man. You know, I'm always fearful of going in and doing my badges too young and kind of not being interested. But that's something I'm definitely doing down the line, and obviously it's a hard route to get into, but you know, it's throw my hat into the ring when I'm qualified enough and when I've learned the game enough. And the way the young managers are getting a chance in the game at the minute, like Steve and like Rory, you see how well they're doing, and hopefully it's a trend that continues as I kind of step away when I finish playing and go into the managing or coaching side of it.
Yeah. That brings us to Friday night. What's going to go through your mind when you're standing waiting on the call from the referee to lead the team out for the final time, if you're selected, of course?
If I'm selected, so hopefully will be in Vinny's plans. I'll probably be thinking about what takeaway will I get from one last time. No, it'll be hard to park my emotions if you don't see me showing any sort of emotion. Get me Oscar ready, because it's a good act. But it will be. I have to park it aside and focus on the game, because it's a massive 3 points. You know, Derry are close to us. It's a chance for us to overtake them, and that would be a great send off for myself and leave the lads in a great position the post Shields days. But when the final whistle goes, I'll probably try and take everything in. Unfortunately, there's only 100 people in here on Friday, but at least my mother, father and my wife will be 3 of them, so it'll be hard to say goodbye to the small crowd. Yeah,
I'm sure you'll be back for the unveiling of the statue.
I would hope so. I hope they go with a bronze rather than copper statue, you know, whatever keeps best in the weather.
Chris, it's been a pleasure. I think I speak on behalf of every Dundalk fan. Thanks a million for your 10 years. You've left us with incredible memories, and we wish you and Sean and the kids and the rest of the family the very best of luck in the future.
Cheers, thanks very much, lad. Thanks for having me.